Today, you're going to improve all areas of your English, your vocabulary, your grammar, your reading, your writing, your pronunciation, and more. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, we're going to read a news article together about how the band, the Beatles, released a new song. First, I'll read the headline. The Beatles release a new song with a little help from AI. Have you heard the new Beatles song that was released? If you have, then let us know in the comments. Notice the question I asked you was in the present perfect verb tense. Have you heard the new Beatles song? Now I can add yet because we use yet for questions in the present perfect, but it's optional, it's not required. To answer, you can also use the present perfect. You can say, yes, I have. Yes, I have heard it if you want to use the full sentence, but you can also just say, yes, I have. No, I haven't. No, I haven't heard it. Or no, I haven't heard it yet. So you can use yet in question form or negative form, but you cannot use it in positive sentence form. And this is in the present perfect because it's an ongoing time reference. It's still possible for you to listen to the Beatles song now. So that's why it's in the present perfect. So share your answer in the comments. I'm very excited to know. And don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF, so you can look in the description for the link. Now let's continue and learn about the new Beatles song. The Beatles have released their new single, the long-awaited Now and Then. So this is the name of the song, Now and Then. Now notice right here, what verb tense is this? The present perfect. But the reason why we're using the present perfect here is different from the reason we're using it here. We use the present perfect for different reasons. In this case, we're using it because it's a past action with a present consequence, a result in the present. So the single was released. The single means one song. So the song was released. That's a completed past action. But we're putting it in the present perfect because now you can listen to it. So that's the result in the present, and that's why they're saying have released. I wrote the note for you here. I also wrote the sentence in the past simple because grammatically both are possible. The Beatles released their new single. The difference is that the one in the present perfect emphasizes the result in the present. That's the only difference between the two. The Beatles have released their new single, the long-awaited Now and Then. Let's talk about long-awaited. When you describe something as long-awaited, it means you've been expecting it for a long time. So you've been waiting for it for a long time. For example, we're going on our long-awaited vacation. So it just emphasizes the fact that you've been waiting for this vacation for a long time. Now let's talk about the name of the song Now and Then, because this is a time reference in English. Now and then means sometimes, but not that often. So less often than sometimes. So if you say, I study English now and then, that's not a very good thing because it sounds like you don't study English very often. So you want to say, I frequently study English. I always study English. You want to use a different time reference. It's an emotionally powerful song that was written by John Lennon as a home demo in the 1970s. The word demo is very common in English. It means a sample of something. A company will often offer you a demo to give you a sample of their product or service so you're more likely to buy it. So John Lennon recorded this as a demo. A home demo just means he recorded it in his home rather than a recording studio. And when I hear the word demo, to me it sounds more unfinished. It's not perhaps either the full song or not 100% done because it's just a demo, it's just a sample. And he did this in the 1970s. But it's also a true Beatles collaboration with Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. So of course, these are the other members of the band along with John Lennon, playing and singing together. I highlighted collaboration here. You're probably familiar with the verb to collaborate. When you collaborate with someone or with a team, it means you work with that person or that team to create something or to achieve one specific result. So collaboration is just the same meaning, but it's the noun form. So a collaboration is when two or more people work together. Written by Lennon in 1978. So this is the specific time because before it only said the 70s. So we didn't know specifically, but now we do. 1978, and completed by McCartney and Starr last year. Now and Then also features sounds by the band's late guitarist George Harrison, using pieces of one of his studio recordings from 1995. So notice here, this is a completed sentence. Now and Then also features. This part adds additional information to the sentence. So we're getting the specific year that it was written. And notice the grammar here, because we're not starting the sentence with the normal subject, verb, object. That's the normal way a sentence is written. It's starting with the past participle. So this is taking place because this entire piece of the sentence can be removed and the sentence is still grammatically correct. Let's review a shorter sentence. So here, the full sentence, Apple is one of the most successful companies in the world. This is correct on its own. But I can add more information, and I'll start with my past participle of the verb. Founded in 1976, Apple is one of the most successful companies in the world. It's just a way to give more information. So that's an advanced grammatical structure that you can use. Let's continue. I want to point out also here the word of late. Of course, when someone or something is late, it means it doesn't arrive on time. In this case, that's not what it means. Do you know what it means? In this case, describing someone as late, the band's late guitarist, George Harrison, it's another way of saying dead. It's the more polite way of describing someone as deceased, dead. Because it doesn't sound very nice to say the band's dead guitarist, George Harrison. So we use a more polite term, the band's late guitarist, George Harrison, using pieces of one of his studio recordings from 1995. You could say, that desk belonged to my late uncle. You could say that desk belonged to my uncle, but if you want to let the person know that he's no longer alive, you add late. That desk belonged to my late uncle. McCartney also added a new string guitar part with help from Giles Martin, the son of the late Beatles producer George Martin. So again, we have another person who is dead, the late producer George Martin. So I'll highlight this again for you. Now and Then, in part, used artificial intelligence to separate out Lennon's original vocals before incorporating McCartney and Starr's musical additions in the studio last year. So remember, the song was written in part by artificial intelligence. In part is the same as partly, which means some amount, but not 100%. Let's look at this example using Apple again. Apple was successful because of its user-friendly design. Now, if I add in part because of its user-friendly design, you know that some amount of Apple's success was because of the user-friendly design, but not 100% of Apple's success. So it is a very common term to have in your vocabulary. Now and then, in part, used artificial intelligence to separate out Lennon's original vocals. So the song wasn't created with artificial intelligence. It's actually Lennon's original voice, but artificial intelligence was used to, remember, he had that home recording and there was his voice and other musical instruments on that recording and all together, but then they use AI to just separate out his voice. So they took his voice and they were able to isolate it and ignore the other sounds in the demo. So they separated out Lennon's original vocals. So vocals, that's his voice, vocals, before incorporating. This is a more advanced, a more C1 way of saying adding, a more academic way perhaps. Before adding, I'll highlight that for you. Before incorporating, adding McCartney and Starr's musical additions in the studio last year. A short documentary film chronicling the making of Now and Then was released Wednesday. Here, chronicling simply means providing the details of. So the documentary provides the details of the making of Now and Then. It chronicles the making of Now and Then, and it was released Wednesday on the Beatles official YouTube channel. So if you're interested, you can watch this short documentary. Ahead of an upcoming music video. Okay, ahead of, this is another way of saying before, and we specifically use it when there is another event and you want to emphasize something before, ahead of another event. For example, I watched the documentary ahead of the presentation. So before has many uses. It's more general and it's more versatile, but we only use ahead of when something else is specified. And in this specific case, it means exactly the same as before. So it doesn't matter which one you use. Ahead of an upcoming music video, which is expected to drop roughly 24 hours after the release of the song itself. Okay, to drop, this means to become available. I hear this with movies, music, sometimes products. The new iPhone will drop next week, will be available. But honestly, it isn't the most widely used. It's more common in a general sense just to use become available. So you can understand what it means in this context, but I don't recommend you use it because it might not sound appropriate in all contexts. Roughly is very commonly used, and it's the same as approximately. So it could be 24 hours, 23 hours, 25 hours, roughly 24 hours after the release of the song itself. And now the music video will be available because I'm reviewing this article more than 24 hours after this happened. So you can watch the music video now as well. Now and Then's eventful journey to fruition took place over 5 decades. Fruition, this is when something is successfully completed, and that something is usually an idea or a project. So in this case, the creation, the release of the song. So for example, the new museum has come to fruition because you need a verb here, and we commonly use the verb come to fruition. And notice my sentence is in the present perfect because it's a completed past action, but there's a result in the present. So now you can go to the museum. 5 decades, 1 decade is 10 years. So 5 decades is 50 years. So 1 decade is 10 years. 1 decade. So it took them 50 years to bring this song to fruition. Because notice, they're bringing the song to fruition. If you're talking about the song, you can say the song has come to fruition after 50 years. But the musicians, they brought the song to fruition. I wrote that here, and in this example, I put it in the past simple because it's also grammatically correct. It's just a completed past action. The Beatles brought the song to fruition. Took over 5 decades and is the product of conversations and collaborations between the 4 Beatles that go on to this day. Reads the short film's YouTube description. But the real marvel of Now and Then is the massive emotional impact of the song itself. Here, marvel represents something that produces admiration. So the reason why we should admire the song Now and Then is the massive emotional impact of the song itself. If you have any affection for these 2 men, the 2 men being the members of the Beatles, it's powerful to hear John and Paul, so these are the 2 men, join voices to sing the chorus. The chorus is the main part of the song, the part that repeats many times in the song, chorus. So these are the lyrics from the song. If you've heard the song, then you'll know this. Now and then, I miss you. So they're saying it has a strong emotional impact. Hearing these 2 singers who have so much history together say to each other, now and then, I miss you. John's song is nakedly emotional. You may be wondering about nakedly because you might know the word naked is when someone is not wearing any clothing. So in this case, nakedly emotional, well, just think when someone's naked, everything is visible, right? So they're saying the emotions are very obvious. You can fully hear them in the lyrics, in their voices. So there's no hiding the emotions. Nakedly emotional. And these are more lyrics from the song, and they show how emotional it is. I know it's true. It's all because of you. And if I make it through, it's all because of you. Me reading these lyrics do nothing to the song. So you need to listen to the song and hear it for yourself. So I provide the link here where you can listen to it, but you can also read the lyrics at the same time. So you'll see these lyrics and then the main chorus where they say, now and then I miss you. It's a very beautiful song, and I agree it is quite an emotional song. So I want you to experience that. So you can do that by clicking this link, but don't click it yet, because now what I'll do is I'll read the song from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. So let's do that now. The Beatles release a new song with a little help from AI. The Beatles have released their new single, the long-awaited Now and Then. It's an emotionally powerful song that was written by John Lennon as a home demo in the 1970s, but is also a true Beatles collaboration with Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr playing and singing together. Written by Lennon in 1978 and completed by McCartney and Starr last year, Now and Then also features sounds by the band's late guitarist George Harrison, using pieces of one of his studio recordings from 1995. McCartney also added a new string guitar part with help from Giles Martin, the son of the late Beatles producer George Martin. Now and Then, in part, used artificial intelligence to separate out Lennon's original vocals before incorporating McCartney and Starr's musical additions in the studio last year. A short documentary film chronicling the making of Now and Then was released Wednesday on the Beatles' official YouTube channel, ahead of an upcoming music video which is expected to drop roughly 24 hours after the release of the song itself. Now and Then's eventful journey to fruition took place over 5 decades and is the product of conversations and collaborations between the 4 Beatles that go on to this day, reads the short film's YouTube description. But the real marvel of Now and Then is the massive emotional impact of the song itself. If you have any affection for these 2 men, it's powerful to hear John and Paul join voices to sing the chorus, "Now and Then, I Miss You." John's song is nakedly emotional. "I know it's true, it's all because of you, and if I make it through, it's all because of you." Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, the movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Now we're going to review the song lyrics to one of the most famous Beatles songs, and you're going to improve all areas of your English in a very fun way. Let's review the song now. It's an oldie but a goodie. We're reviewing the song Yesterday by the Beatles. So let's go through the lyrics together. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Of course, you'll need to notice that our keyword is yesterday. So notice all the verbs that are going to be in the past simple because we're talking about yesterday. Yesterday, all my troubles. All my troubles. This is another way of saying problems or difficulties. All my problems, all my difficulties seemed so far away. Of course, our verb in the past simple seemed. They seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Let's take a look at this. It looks as though. This is used to show probability. You can think of it as 75% probable. So 75% chance that something will happen. So here, the something is that his problems, his troubles are here to stay. Now, it looks as though is not the most commonly used. It sounds a little outdated, a little formal perhaps. And remember, the Beatles are from quite a long time ago. Today, more commonly, we say it looks as, do you know what? It looks as if they're here to stay. So it looks as though is grammatically correct, but in my opinion, it's more common to say it looks as if they're here to stay. They have the exact same meaning. Now, to show you an example sentence, you could say it looks as though or as if it'll rain. It'll rain. Here, notice I used a contraction. It'll rain. The full form is it will rain. So again, I might look out my window, see some dark clouds, and then say, oh, it looks as if it'll rain. I'm saying it's about 75% probable. You can also use it looks like, and in this case, you could say it looks like rain. A little difference when we use it looks like, generally what comes next is a noun. So in this case, rain is a noun. It looks like plus noun is more common when you use it looks like, and then when you use it looks as though, as if, we have a clause. It looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Now, just quickly notice the preposition. It's always important to remember which prepositions are used with which words. Believe in. You believe in something. And a very nice thing to say to someone is, I believe in you. So if your friend tells you they want to be the next Beatles, they want to be an amazing singer-songwriter, you can say, I believe in you. I believe in your vision, your goals, your dreams. I believe in you. It's a very nice thing to say. So say that to someone today. It will make them very happy. And I believe in you, all of you, and your ability to become a fluent, confident English speaker, hopefully with my help. Let's continue on. Now, I will also let you know that you can download the free lesson PDF, so you don't need to worry about writing everything down, because you can download the free lesson PDF that will have all the notes from the lesson. So you can look in the description of this video, or you can look in the chat in the first comment pinned to find the lesson PDF. Let's continue on. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. Suddenly, we use this, of course, for time. Suddenly, there is not a lot of time when an action happens. So you can say, suddenly the phone rang. Suddenly, my boss gave me a promotion. So this expresses that it happened very quickly and often unexpectedly as well. So quickly, and I'll put in brackets, and unexpectedly. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. Let's take a look at this, a very common past simple expression. I used to be a writer. For example, I used to be a writer. This means I am not a writer now, but it was a routine action in the past. I used to. I used to. Notice my pronunciation. You don't hear this D at all. I used to. I used to. I used to be a writer. I used to work at a bank. I used to live in Hawaii. That's not true. None of these are true, actually. So you try one. Leave an example sentence with I used to. Now you could say she used to. There'd be no difference in the conjugation, of course, because this is a past simple verb and it's the same for all subjects. So here I could put they used to work at a bank. She used to live in Hawaii. So try some example sentences. Remember the spelling here, we have an ED, but you don't hear it in pronunciation. Let's continue on. There's a shadow hanging over me. This is a very poetic line. Of course, a shadow is an area of darkness caused by the absence of light. Actually, you can see a little bit of a shadow right here in the corner. It's a little bit of a dark spot, just the way the light is reflecting against an object on my wall that you can't see. There's a little bit of a shadow. So the shadow hanging over him could be the image of this woman that he's talking about in this song, and it's just her image is just there with him. I'm not sure if that's what it means. It's very poetic, but that's what a shadow is at least. So when you're taking a picture, you want to be mindful of shadows because you want to remove as many shadows as you can. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Notice here, suddenly, before we had it at the beginning. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. And here we have it at the end. This adverb is quite flexible. You can put it at different parts. Yesterday came suddenly. I said before suddenly the phone rang. I could also say the phone rang suddenly. Suddenly. So it's a flexible adverb. Of course, our past simple came because it's yesterday. So this is a great beginner song to practice the past simple. Why she had to go. Remember, this is a song. This is actually not grammatically correct, though. Do you know why? What's the grammar error here? Why she had to go. Why she had to go. Well, we know this is a question because there's a question mark here and it starts with why, which is a question mark. When we have a WH question in this form, we need why. Do you know how to correct this? Why did she have to go? Why did she have to go? Now notice I changed had to have. Why? Because my past simple is here. Why did, and then you use the base verb because my past simple is already indicated with the auxiliary verb do conjugated in the past simple. Why did she have to go? As a song, it probably sounds better to say this even though it is grammatically incorrect. So let me just write this so you don't say this in your speech. Grammatically incorrect. And then this is grammatically correct. Why did she have to go? I don't know. She wouldn't say. She wouldn't say. Wouldn't is our modal verb. In this case, it's being used to suggest a unwillingness. For example, she wouldn't help me. She wouldn't help me. She wouldn't help me. There's an unwillingness. She could help me. She had the ability to help me, but she didn't. She wouldn't help me. Now, important grammatically, when you have a modal verb, your next verb needs to be the base verb, not the infinitive. Modal plus base verb. So we don't say she wouldn't to say, because that's the infinitive, to say. She wouldn't to help me. No, that's incorrect. Now, it's also possible she would help me. She would help me. And here, it's not she would to help me because that's the infinitive. We don't want that. We want our base verb. She would help me. She wouldn't help me. She refused to help me. I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. This is a very poetic expression. Honestly, I don't think you'll use it too much in your speech, but it is a very nice poetic expression, and you may hear it in other songs, movies, TV, and most likely poetry as well. I long for. When you long for something, you really, really, really want it. There's a strong desire for that. You might say, I long for summer, for example. Right now, it's winter. It's very cold. I long for summer. I long to see the trees in bloom. The trees in bloom, the flowers in bloom. Notice, because I have a verb here, I use the infinitive. I long to see the trees in bloom. I long for summer. Summer is a noun. So we use for plus noun. Let me write this. For plus noun. And then you use infinitive if you're going to use a verb. So long plus infinitive. And this is long plus for plus noun. Now, because long is a verb, you do need to conjugate it. She longs for summer. She longed for summer. That would be in the past simple, of course. She longs for summer. I long to see the trees in bloom. It sounds very poetic. Honestly, I probably wouldn't say that because it does sound very poetic. I probably wouldn't say it to my friends, but it sounds beautiful to me. So why don't you try that in the comments below? Try sharing something that you long for, or you can use a hypothetical she, he, we long for as well. Let's continue on. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Of course, our verb to be in the past simple, conjugated with our subject, which is love. That's why it's was. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Again, I believe in you. I believe in your abilities. I believe in your talent. You got this. Let's continue on. Okay, this is back to the chorus, so I don't think there's anything new here. Why she had to go, we already talked about this. This is the same as before. And that's the end of the song. So it's a simple song, but it's a great reminder of the past simple because it's about yesterday, and there's some very nice expressions in this song as well. So now what I recommend is that you listen to the song. So the link to listen to the song and follow along with the lyrics is in the free lesson PDF that you can download, this exact PDF, and you can listen to this song. I hope you enjoyed this lyric review. Did you enjoy this lesson? Do you want me to make more lessons just like this? If you do, then put yes, 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 yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep improving your English with this lesson right now.